Oh, you're recording already?
I'm hitting recording. We're going to shoot from the hip today, Randy.
Okay,
This was not
from the hip.
planned. We're recording right now, okay?
We're recording right now, and it's not planned.
Yeah.
Oh my God, exciting!
How exciting!
This is
okay.
This is
So
exciting.
this may not be a long one, but we never know with us if this is going to be long or short. Okay. Oh God, your arms
I'm just
are
writing
hairy.
a few.
You're a
I'm just
hairy
writing.
person. Okay. Look at how
I'm
hairy
obsessed
your
with-
arms are. You look like Bigfoot.
I know. And the bull on the other side, see?
Oh,
That's
cool.
a bull.
Wow.
But he doesn't have much hair on because it's on the
No.
other side. Donor. I'm writing some notes here. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, cool.
Well, wait, I should take off my hat and rub my coconut oil in a little better because it's pretty shiny.
Okay.
Okay,
So,
we're almost there.
okay.
Okay,
So
hit record.
this is recording, so let them see your morning rituals. The morning ritual of the Son of God.
Wait, we're not quite there yet. We have to.
What are you saging or what is that? Oh, you've got your, what smell is that?
Smudge. I don't know.
Are you getting rid of evil spirits in that room of yours? Woo! I love those.
This.
I have
Hold
one
on.
too. You know, Randy's showing all his talents today. Okay, focus. Come back here and focus. Where are you going? Focus.
Let's show off Ida's talents this morning. Look at this is Ida's artwork she sent me. Isn't that lovely?
That's my first painting.
I think it's the Son of God, but I'm not sure.
Yes, it's raw.
Put it right here.
Yeah, okay, cool. Randy, come back here and focus with me for a second. Okay, so this is called for me, how do we know what we know? Okay, and this keeps popping up for me because I mean to ask you every time we talk about Bauer or the 13 families, this question: how much of your mentorship with him has shaped your worldview? Like, in other words, I feel like when I talk to you, you see things the way your world is constructed for you through the eyes of how a family member, like one of the 13 family members, would see it. Like, I marvel at it because it's not how I see the world, right? So for instance, when we did that pyramid, your first thought was, well, that's satanic. Where did that knowing come from? Like your perspective of how you see things. Like, for example, they laugh at us, let's laugh at them. You know, all of that stuff. Where does that come from in you? Maybe this is getting into your head and not, as we talked, right? Ooh. But I really want to know what's shaped your worldview. How do you know what you know?
Well, it's an open mind, an absorbable mind. Okay, that's the way I talk to people. Like I came out of the trees, and when I did, and when I did, I mean, I spent a lot of time on my own, 30 years, like working in the cattle business, and of course, I worked with other people at times, but I hardly even had a hired man. I worked for myself, So when I started to come into this other world, which I wasn't educated into, like I was educated into my own business and I paid my taxes and paid my so-called debt and all that bullshit, never really understanding it or thinking much of it, just moving ahead, and increasing my little business. But then one step at a time, I started to open my mind. And it was long before I met Bauer. And that's what I was thinking you were going to ask this. So I wanted to write those two names down this morning. So remember I've said to you that I was involved with the asset-backed accounts first. So, gold-backed accounts, things
Yeah.
like that.
Those families, the treasure families.
Yeah. And I forgot to mention the other day, I said I know 3 directly, but I didn't mention one that was the power of attorney that led me into this. Okay, so he wasn't the original so-called owner or keeper or holder of the account, but he was the power of attorney. And that's what got me started, really. Like, that man had documentation up the yin yang. And I mean, I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, holy shit, like, what's this all about? So I started to learn, and it was based on, there's so much history to uncover, but you have to do it on your own. That's basically what I'm trying to say is this is a very individual path and journey that we're on. And that's why it's hard for me to say this without sounding like I'm, some of these other strange folks that are on the internet saying I'm the one, like
the
gurus.
The gurus.
Yeah. I won't go into that any further, but I do want to say that if everybody just collects the information that they have from their experience and then move it into a big picture, man, you can find out so much, and then just stick to your path and your story. Like, no matter what anybody throws at you, like, take the good in what they're saying and bring it into your story. So back to the power of attorney and my original venture into the asset backed side of this. Okay, this is a good story. So he exposed all this paper to me, and I'm looking at it thinking, holy shit, like, there's gold backed certificates of deposit, right? So that means that they're bringing physical gold into the banks by way of safekeeping receipts or certificates, paper, so there's an assay involved, like an actual physical examination of the product. And then they say, okay, that's it. That's where it is. That's where it exists. So we're going to create an account based on that. Okay. So that's pretty easy to understand, isn't it? Like, it's physical gold, but it's not in the bank. It's stored somewhere else, saying, okay, we're going to leave it there, but we still want to use it to open an account. So it's actually an asset-backed account. So that's really simple stuff. So when he showed me this paperwork, I looked at it and I thought, God, there's something to this. Like, it doesn't just look like, I don't know, old paper. And on top of having the gold-backed certificates, he had documentation that showed currency being distributed to the Philippines. It was called Philippine Victory Notes by the victors. Okay, you remember, this is all history stuff too, right? So the victors of World War II issued currency to the Philippines. Okay, because Philippines was where a lot of the physical stolen gold during World War I, and especially World War II, ended up. So I hope I'm not going too fast here, because this is very important stuff. Because you think of my talk of one world government, that's existed for a long time, like, throughout the ages.
I think I clued into that with Project Paperclip. That sort of opened up my eyes how nobody won that war. It was all kind of assigned and told to us in one way. And then they took them and they brought them into the States, and Hitler was in South America. Like, all of this, I was like, wow, there is some collaboration between all of these countries. It's not this division that they're pointing out, like this against this and that. Yeah, so that kind of started me thinking about, this is a one world thing, like a collaborative. Yeah.
And it's been that way forever. However, it gets to a point where those that run that world order And the world is an important word here, okay? Because world is the human construct. And, you know, you think of things like New World Order or World Bank or World Health Organization, all those world, that's all human constructs, right? So we're doing our best to try and create a human construct on this heavenly planet. So the world is the word that describes human construct.
Is that
So when this
also
world,
the thing that means the all?
that would be more Mother Earth in my mind. And,
Ah,
you know, not world. World is not all. That is humans. That is a human based construct of some kind.
so the all is more natural, like nature, like God's law kind of thing again.
Yes.
Oh, cool. Okay, so good. I understood that. Good.
Okay. So when, you know, when this world order tries to get all these governments of the world together, they just can't police them, right? So when they planned World War One and planned World War Two to get the slaves fighting against each other, to destroy things and build things, to do all of that economic activity, to keep them
Creation.
busy. Yes, to keep them busy and to keep them, you know, off track as to what's really going on at the upper levels of the world, you know, the new world order
The
or the old world order,
distraction.
really.
It's like, look over here, look over there. That's what war is. That's what, yeah. Mainstream
So
media
that,
is that too.
and that's going on right now, okay, still. But I want to go back first because this historic stuff is important. So World War II, they they figured, you know, we'll get this figured out. But at the end, it was still, you know, stealing of gold and stealing of wealth, right? So these governments couldn't stop that. They had the plan to, you know, murder a bunch of people and blow shit up and all that stuff, the war destruction stuff, but they couldn't stop each other from stealing the gold. So in the end, it was, you know, we're going to bomb the shit out of Nagasaki and Hiroshima. I don't believe that was a nuclear bomb, number one. I think they just carpet bombed them, just like they did with Dresden in the end, to really make it sound like a big fucking show. But they took that gold from Japan, from other places where Japan was stealing it during the war. America was stealing it during the war. Europe was stealing it during the war, and they dumped a whole bunch of it in the Philippines, okay? In the Philippines, and a lot of it in different
Is
spots,
there
like
a
hidden
reason why they
caves.
chose the Philippines?
Well, I think
Is it
partly because there's,
strategic and where it's located? And
yeah, it was, hold on, we're back. It was, there's 7,100 islands in that little place, right? There's more in Indonesia, but Philippines was one where, you know, there was English speaking already. The Spanish had been in there. Everybody had been in the Philippines. So it was a good place to, you know, to amalgamate this. So they stashed a bunch of it there and then created these Marcos accounts. Marcos being a lawyer and one of the family elders that stepped up and said, okay, I know how to do this. So they created a bunch of these accounts. There's other ones too, don't get me wrong, but the Marcos accounts was what I stumbled into, okay, which is what this guy had as a power of attorney. So Marcos would put accounts in different humans' names. Like the one I was dealing with was Jean Cruz. What the hell is his first name? John
Tom.
Baptista. Jean
Oh,
Baptista Cruz.
oh, okay.
JP Cruz. But then this other man had taken the power of attorney because this guy had croaked, right? So it's all
Oh,
about, you know, handing over power of attorney. But how the hell do you do that? When you do that, it no longer belongs to someone, it belongs to the people, because that's where the living takes over, in my mind, is when you got somebody dead. Because who the hell, even if they do own something, you think of this in our structure, in a capitalist society, a father who builds an empire, hands it to his son, what the fuck am I going to do with that? You know, like it. So, you know, wealth passing on and inheritance, I'm trying to speak to here in terms of these ancient accounts. once they passed on, who the fuck? Like, that belongs to the living human beings now. And that's what I always talk about when I get to that stage. Do I deny the current owners the ability to have these accounts and open them up? No. But when you open those accounts up, know that that's for humanity. It's for everyone, and it's not for building more wealth. That's a big
But
argument.
are you the only one that kind of walks in that knowledge?
Maybe. I don't know. Like, I don't know that,
That
like
it's all
I
for everyone. Don't you have to have people in agreement that that is for everyone? It's like going around creating it delusionally again, but not having the actual backing. It's like Kim Gagoyan creating delusionally without actually having the hard, let's say, asset or whatever it is you want to call it, right?
Yeah. So I went along, this is years of stuff, right? And way before I knew Bauer, that's why I wrote these two names down. I started digging. Every time I'd find out something for myself, then it was like, okay, I want to find the truth about this. That's why I went to the Philippines and knocked on Roddy Duterte's door with all that paper, right? But prior to going over there, I was trying to do it just from home, without spending money and traveling and stuff.
Yeah.
And I contacted the office of Paul Volcker. Okay, Paul Volcker was one of the Fed chairmen years ago, when I think it was in the 50s or maybe 60s when he was Fed chairman. But he knows the story. He's an old man now, very old, and I'm pretty sure he's still alive. He has this Volcker Institute that's trying to figure out how to create a new kind of a government structure and stuff. He's a very wise man. So I tried to contact him. I never got through to him, but I got through to his secretary, and I got through to some of the people in his think tank. And they were like, how the hell do you know this stuff? Like, that's where it got to, right? So the US Treasury being important, because after World War II, I'm kind of going around here, but I think you're getting it, and I think other people will too, if they might have to listen to this a couple times.
Yeah.
So after World War II, like I say, they issued from the US Treasury currency to the Philippines. So what would you think that would be based on? It's based on the physical gold that sat in the Philippines, right?
Yeah.
But the US, because they won the war, they're saying the Philippines is ours. And like, it's,
so therefore the gold is ours.
And then you bring that up to, it doesn't matter anyway, because it's one world government now that we're talking about. So to say that the Philippines is ours, that's because the Philippines, as a non-sovereign government, as a de jure corporation, is just part of the world order anyway, with the US of A being in the lead now because they kicked ass with the military, or all that story, you know what I mean? So there's where Paul Volcker comes into the scene, and the US Treasury as well. He was chairman of the Federal Reserve, but everybody wants to say, oh, that's a privately owned corporation. You got to get back to that oneness that they've created, right? So the Federal Reserve and the US Treasury, under the one world order umbrella, are still the same. So
and the families, how are they involved with the Federal Reserve under that umbrella?
Well, let me hold up for a second here. I want to just finish the rest of this story to show some of my own experience once again. So direct contact with Paul Volcker's office. I've spoken to Trudeau's secretary, the one right in his prime minister's office, numerous times. I know that I'm getting to these people, right? But they don't want to talk to me because they're not authentic. They can't speak to me. They don't know anything.
They can't speak to the Son of God.
I'm not Jesus Christ. I'm just Lord Randall Earl Kaiser. So the thing is, then I got to, Fed chairman. So who do I deal with the US Treasury to get a little deeper into this? From my own position, from my phone, from my Google, whatever you want to call it. Just try and get as close as I could without traveling. And I reached a man named Richard. I think it's Richard. I took his name off my phone, but I wrote it down. It could be Robert Donor. And at that time, 8 or 10 years ago, he was one of the chief economists with the US Treasury. So I thought, okay, that's close enough. You know, this guy's pretty high up. And I got that off of web information and stuff like that, government websites. So I kept trying until I got him on the phone. And I did. I spoke to him too. And like I say, is he the head of the US Treasury? Is he Stephen Mnuchin? No. But he's, you know, he's a pretty top guy and probably higher up than Steve Mnuchin because those guys are frontmen. It's like Trump is a frontman, right? So anyway, I'm speaking to this guy and we got on like, you know, how I can just catch on with people. They like me because I talk from the heart and I'm just open and there's nothing to hide. And this guy and I started hitting it off and I started to present the idea to him that there are all these accounts that are based on large assets. Like what's going on here?
They're off ledger accounts that you're trying to bring on ledger.
Right.
Yeah.
So he starts joking around with me about don't believe any of that stuff. That's all, you know, that's all just stuff. He's kidding around like this. And I thought, okay, we'll kid around. I'm fine with that. So I phoned him a second. I said, I'm going to present you some paper. I'll send it by email if you don't mind. And then you take a look at it and then we'll talk about it again. Oh, sure. No problem, Randall. He says, so I sent him these documents that I had, pictures of them and stuff like that. And then I phoned him up again. And the second time, how you doing? You get that out of your head yet? That stuff, you know? And I said, no, I sent you the paper. Didn't you get it yet? And he said, oh, I haven't had a chance to take a look. I said, well, could we make this, you know, we're getting along here good, buddy. Like would you mind just taking a look and then getting back to me? And he said, well, give me a call back in a couple of days. None of these guys want to phone you back, but you know, it's on their time. So I gave him a couple more days and I phoned him back. It was like talking to a different person completely. The same voice, same guy.
He got scared shitless?
He said, I have nothing to say about these papers. I have nothing that I can, or not that I can say. He just kept saying, I have nothing to say about these documents. And I said, can we talk a little bit more? He said, no. He said, there's no point whatsoever. And he didn't hang up on me. He was being nice, but he just kept repeating himself. I have nothing to say. That's called
broken record. Broken record. It's a strategy.
Yeah. So that was it. And did I ever go, yes, to that?
You got somewhere.
From my personal experience, I realized that I had hit as high as I needed to hit in that category. Then I went to the Philippines with the paper, okay? With suitcase.
Wait a minute, can I just ask a question? Did that the papers that the power of attorney showed you, did you get a copy or did he give them to you? Well, like what?
Copies. You know,
okay, so that's what you're doing. You're taking the copies and giving it to these people to look at. Okay.
And then saying, okay, let's dig up the originals.
Okay, but wait a minute. Why would the power of attorney give you, Randall Kaiser, copies of these papers? What's going on there that he doesn't know you from Adam? You don't really know him, but he's entrusted you with these papers that tell the story. What the hell is that about?
We became close friends. I went to Vancouver and sat down with him and met him a number of times. You know, we built trust, and that's the bottom line there.
Was your goal with him to get the word out, or were you wanting to try to get access to those off ledger things, the accounts?
At that point in time, Ida, I was still thinking in terms of us, him and I and his group of people getting access to that money, because it was literally billions of dollars. And we had plans, even him and I and the people he was working with, to put that into the economy of the Philippines and actually do something with it physically. So I felt that there was, you know, a good plan.
Benevolent, or are you talking money laundering?
No, no, not money laundering. I mean, it all is in the end, but in reality, at that point, it was, is benevolent the word or is conscious the word? We were planning to put it actually into physical programs with or without the government of the Philippines to assist the people, to rebuild some places that were torn down by typhoons. The man was a good
Okay,
man, and he is an engineer.
and what would it mean to you and him? You would get a piece of the pie?
Yeah, like we'd be managing projects or whatever, similar kind of stuff to what I think of now. He talked in terms of wealth, and I said, I'm not interested anymore. Let's just keep, and that might have been what entrusted us, like built that trust where he handed it over, because he could see I wasn't in it to just buy a bunch of Maserati cars. I was wanting to do what he was talking about doing. But he'd had no money either, remember? And I scrambled with some friends who believed in us, put some of my money in, and got some friends to participate, and made these trips overseas. And I did
What an
everything I could.
adventure. What a friggin' adventure. It's
It was
like
beautiful.
somebody, it's like somebody uncovering a map or a scroll from ancient times and following the trail to the treasure.
Pretty much. And it was fun for me because I wasn't thinking in terms of fear at all. Like I say, I faced a lot of machine guns, and like there was characters like Neil Keenan out there at that time. And at the same time, I'm watching some of these guys, or Benjamin Fulford. You should have seen him back in those days. You see him now, he's pretty clean cut. In those days, he had long, scraggly hair, and he'd get on the internet and he's screaming at the Chinese elders. Fuck, he was like a wacko. And now he's kind of settled down a little bit, and he's just reporting on everything that's going on. What he's reporting on, I can't say that I judge it either way, but there's information in all of these characters that's interesting. So it put me almost in front of Duterte. I did meet with his administrative staff and everything.
That was hijacked because of Trudeau, right? That's the story in Trudeau. Yeah. Okay. So, are you still working on presently this story? Because you're still going, you have another person though. The guy with the oil. You have him now. But have you given up on that story now, that with the papers that landed in your lap with this man in the Philippines? Have you given up on that story?
None of them. I know, there's so many stories out there like that. And like, to this day, I'm telling you, and I've Kim Gagouin, Ernest Rothschild, who has a story like this, Anna von Reitz, Bauer, myself, and Stephanie, another young lady that really has a very open and bright mind. Though that group still has a 6 of us, and this is outside the account holders. Okay, these are 6 people that are trying to do something. Yeah.
Creationists, yeah.
And each of them has a little piece of the puzzle. And if we'd all just put our heads together and work together, and I've tried to encourage that, but whatever, it's still.
I'm just going to add to what I wrote you that I heard about Kim Gagouin, because we talked about her last time. Yeah. So someone I was watching a video with that I respect very much said that they had approached her to get an interview from her, and they're pretty big following on the web, this person. Yeah. And so they were asked, well, what do you think about her and her story? So they said that the stories they heard about her is that what she's saying is her backing, you know how she's created this story of that she's on top of the One World Fund, but who's behind there backing her with that information, they said, is the Draco. So an alien species that are malevolent. They're not benevolent, they're malevolent. And so that was one thing this person said. And then the second thing they said is, she is apparently, by other people's stories, a direct descendant of Eve and in the bloodline families. So there's all these connections with her that are the backing that she's doing the creationist story on, right? And they said they felt she had very good intentions, but she was misguided and self-appointed.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I'm just going to add to that, okay? And I'm looking at our time and I just want to ask you, I know you didn't finish up what you wanted to say about the military, the white hats and the black hats. So go for that piece if you're done with everything else.
Well, that'll tie into this because with Kim, we're all descendants of Adam and Eve, if you want to talk about it that way. But what happens along the way is that we program and are programmed our own minds, right? So I'm programming on top of the programming that's coming in from the outer experience, right?
Yeah.
So then, so is Kim, free from programming? That would be the divine neural activation, the direct descendant of Eve in my mind. That's the way I think that.
See, this
So
is what I wanted to know about you. How do you come up with these ways and perspectives of looking at things? Like, where did that come from? The way that you're seeing things, like the divine neural activation, and that, all, and that's a descendant from all of us, from Adam and Eve. Where does that all come from? That knowing or that perspective? That's what I wanted to understand.
From all the angels in my life. So I consider every human being that comes into my, or I allow into my space, whether that be over the phone or, and generally I get as close as I can. Like I want to be in eye-to-eye contact like you and I are right now.
Yeah.
But if I can't, it starts with telephone calls and stuff. But most of the people I've mentioned, I've been eye to eye with. Kim never once, she doesn't want to go, she'll go as far as the phone. But, so she deprogrammed, but then she started to create her own program, right? So that's what I'm doing too. And that's what you're doing, is creating our own program. And if people don't pay attention, our temptation then is to build in something cracking, a big story, right? And then you start to get attention. And then that's when people think, okay, then this story can expand and expand and expand. And that's what it needs to do to become a collective story. So in the last, I don't know how many years, maybe since the War of the Worlds movie on fucking television or whatever, everybody's going, oh, if I make up a story about Galactic Federation of Light and spaceships and stuff, people will latch onto it. And there is more and more people doing that. Who started that? Like fucking NASA going to the fucking moon? Like they never been to the moon. You can't go there. It's not a fucking thing you can land on. But yet we've got this whole idea of flying around in space and going to fucking Mars and everything else. Come on, get grounded, get into your story. And if nobody believes it, well, then you take a good shot at it. But why build in a bunch of bullshit? And Bauer did the same thing with me. He had so much common sense. And then he started showing me his books that he wrote about flying through the fucking sun on the spaceship. I'm like, Jesus Christ, buddy, calm yourself down. Bring it back to the ground here where we are and say, okay, we've got unlimited resources. We've got unlimited potential. Let's unlimit. Let's unincorporate. Let's use that language to just simply feed the people of the earth, give them what they need to survive, give them comfort, whether that's through a monetary system, the living human beings that are here now, not sit on some inheritance and say, it's mine and I'll only direct it if somebody agrees with me and all this fucking bullshit. Come on, let's just get down to some real common sense. And when I'd get there with him, then he'd talk with me on a good level of common sense. So to me, it's simplifying everything rather than building in complexity. So I'll finish it up with the talk about the white hats, okay?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what the fuck are they doing besides building a new story? And is it better than the last one? Is it better than some genocide through chemical injection in our arm and our fucking, you know, heavy metals in our food? Yes. But they haven't come out and said that yet. You know, like they just take it so slowly in little bits at a time. So do I trust that there's something going on? Yes. Okay. And I keep saying this to people. But for this to be a godly, above common law, way above that legal universe jurisdiction, which is right and wrong, common law still has a judgment basis in it and the ability to act in dishonor like the fucking banking families have done. Get up into God's law, which is simply do no harm, and see where the fuck we can go with that, because that's pretty simple. Okay, the military right now is scared of the people because there's more people like you and I waking up to this. There's people in the US that have guns that are a little bit, you know, weird, some of them, but some of them are conscious and saying, you aren't fucking telling us what to do. Like they're standing in their sovereignty. And that's where the military got scared. So they have to make up a new good guy story. We'll be the good guys. Don't worry. Don't worry. We'll be the good guys. So the one world order is still in place, but it's shifting. Okay. It's shifting into a dynamic of, okay, we'll be good. We realize that those other bad guys, and we'll make them look bad on the media. We'll talk about them as pedophiles and adrenochrome blood sucking fuckers. And we'll make up all kinds of cracking stories about them. And does Trump do that? Fuck. Every time he's on a video or something, it's China virus, China this, Biden bad, Biden, fuck's sake, you know, like if you're going to be authentic, be authentic. Don't go back into that legal jurisdiction. If you want to come up into the common law jurisdiction of a republic, a true republic, back to the old Constitution prior to the 1871 fuck up, where they took the drunken old Ulysses S. Grant and said, here, put your name on this, you fucking old drunk, and we're good to go. So he just, you know, he signed it back, the corporation, after some pretty good work to try and get America to be a true North, strong and free. Whoops, that's Canada. to be a true patriotic, for the people, we the people kind of a organization, you know?
Yeah.
So are we moving back there? Yes. Is Trump the front man in that? Yes. Is the military of the world government behind him? Yes. But there's still a world government.
Sorry, the military is like the rest of them. They're sitting at a round table from all parts of the world, and they're deciding in the script what part they're going to play.
That's right. Who the hell are we going to throw under the bus? Let's throw the Pope under the bus. Let's throw the Queen under the bus. But we still have to have some structure here. Okay, let's create Nasara Jasara, debt forgiveness, because that'll help everybody. Who the fuck are you in debt to? Like, that's what pisses me off about this Nasara Jasara. Oh, it's such a lovely story. The White Hats are going to save us. We'll all receive this. We'll all receive that. Are they saying that yet? No, they're still saying debt forgiveness and putting that bullshit story in. They're not talking about the living human being who has rights to everything that's been mined on this planet, plain tea of existence, by the generations before them that are now dead. Okay?
Yeah.
There's none of this fucking, and I don't like to run down reincarnation or anything like that. That could be reality. I don't want to run or judge anybody, even the fucking alien stories. Go ahead if you want to talk about it that way. It doesn't matter to me. But what's on the fucking ground? The human being living here, the animals living here, the trees growing on the fucking land, on the ground.
So it's interesting. Because Randy, there's so many interesting things about your bipolarness, which is you're very grounded. You want
the world is bipolar. I'm polar, remember?
Polar, I know. I said that as a joke. Oh, are you saging me the evil now? The evil, run away from Ida. Okay,
I'm getting rid of that word, bipolar.
Oh, I know.
That is the legal jurisdiction looniverse.
Oh,
I am polar.
Mojo. Okay.
One pole. See
Okay,
that?
hold on, but I do want to say this. So you're talking about the grounded human living being and being grounded
Yes.
in serving that and knocking everything else out of the way. Then your creationist stories, some of them are like not grounded at all. So in my perspective, so there's this like, you want to call it duality, whatever, in you. And me too. Like I have
Yes.
the duality. We all do, right? So there's nothing wrong with duality. That's one thing I want to put forward. Because
Thank you.
sometimes your stories are about there's no duality. There's no duality. It's all uni. It's all unipolar. Okay. So anyway, so that was really good. Do you have anything else you kind of want to say or end with about anything?
Well, how about you first? Like, think about it. Just take a breath for a second or two. If there's some more clarity I can give, I don't know. Like, I I speak too simply for most people. They Most
Really?
people want to. I think so. I think most people want to bring more complexity. That's why I have 100 followers and Kim Gogoyan has 25,000, because there's complexity to her story. It's just, you know, that's what people want to go
With
towards,
the
because
complex,
otherwise you think you're a dummy.
you know what? With the complexity, I think it builds a lot of mystery, I think, and magic.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people are attaching to, the mystery and the magic. And to
Yeah.
say, no, aliens, that's part of mystery and magic, right? And you're saying, hey, let's not look there. Let's look and focus here in what we have control over, which is the living human being. We don't have control over that whole story about aliens or the pedophiles or the children. We don't know. We don't have control over that. What we have control over, what we can do, is here with the living human beings.
Yeah.
Much easier route. In some ways, you and I are similar in that. I like to get grounded. I don't like to go oh God, let's talk about this and that and the spiritual shit. Okay, so what I'm still asking about in terms of clarity, I guess there's the side of the history of what's going on and how we've been lied to, and the history of how you got into this story. Then there's the other part about how you know what you know spiritually.
Well, that's where you know, keeping the spiritual in, okay, within, and build that story as much as you want. Think of yourself as God if you want. Like, think of yourself as Jesus Christ if you want. That's personal stuff, like, keep it there.
That's the
And
creation on ungrounding stuff.
it also, there's importance to it, Ida, because it gives you yourself confidence, right? To think in terms of that you have this capability and magical. Try to explain some little miracle that happens in your life to someone and see if they believe you. Like, it's very personal. When I see the serendipities, the synchronicities and
Synchronicities,
stuff like
yeah.
that in my life, it's just sometimes I'm just like gobsmacked, and that's the truth. Like, it's like, how in the fuck did that happen? Like, and if I was to try and explain that to somebody else through, then I turn into the guru. Like, oh, you can do this too, you can experience this. I did. Listen to me, I will tell you how. I mean, fuck, then it
Isn't
becomes a
that
spiritual.
isn't
Yeah.
that the story of Christ? what
Yes,
you just
pretty
what
much.
you just said is the story of Christ. He went around saying, listen, I'm attached to this dude who does miracles.
Right.
So come with me and we'll do miracles together. I think what you're saying is there's magic and miracles right here. We don't need to go to aliens. Oh, it says the camera's off.
Hmm.
Oh,
Maybe we didn't record it. That's okay.
no, it says recording, but I'm
Oh,
frozen.
yeah, you're frozen for a second.
But
It'll,
can you hear me? Can you hear
yeah,
me okay?
yeah, I can hear you. It'll free up in a second again.
It says the camera was off, but then I don't know. Okay,
Because you,
anyway, I'll just say in closing, because I'm frozen, you can hear
yeah.
me. Um, is that, yeah, we don't need to resort. Oh, now you're frozen.
Uh-oh.
Okay, no, you're frozen. Okay, you're not. We don't need to resort to all these stories of,
You know what? When you're frozen, I don't know if people can hear you, Ida. So I might have to just finish it off on my own here.
go for it.
Because yeah, I don't know if people can hear you. I've noticed that before. When the person freezes, it freezes their audio too.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll just finish this off because we should do it kind of nice at the end and say that, you know, believe in yourself and believe in your story. Okay, that's the paramount here. And when one person has that kind of belief within themselves, I go back to the whole morphic resonance theory, that if someone pushes that far, it can affect other people. Okay, so believe in yourself 100%. Pick little bits of everybody's story, build your own, make sure that it's the good parts of the story, as we always say, you know, and then build your own story and then just speak it. If someone listens to it, fine. If not, it doesn't matter, because you have that capacity as a morphic resonating energy being to actually have an effect on someone else, the 100th monkey or whatever you want to refer to that.
Yeah.
That is where I go back to a lot. So I think we'll stop there and let people absorb that one. I'd love to answer more questions from people whenever, because it's my experience. I feel that I have power within myself to affect change around people around me, whether it's through my words or my actions. And I'm going to continue doing that. And do I like the Jesus Christ story? Hell yeah. That's a pattern to follow, you know? And if we follow a pattern of sovereignty, like he was sovereign, like move the other cheek. That's all that has to do with, is not wanting to get slapped again. It's like, I'm going that way. You move my cheek over here. This cheek is coming here because I'm still going that way.
I'm
It's
focused.
determination. And it's that spark of the Son of God that keeps coming around every single day, you know? So it's a beautiful story, the Son of God story, the Jesus Christ story. So, but is the Bible correct? No, they borrowed a little bit here and borrowed a little bit there and made up a bunch of fucking cracking stories about spreading
Okay.
this disease and
Okay.
okay.
Randy,
I'm
with
stopping.
peace. Go ahead, you
With
say it,
peace,
because I don't know.
harmony, with peace, harmony, love, abundance, and freedom for everyone and everything every day on our minds. Me and Ida. Abundance, sovereignty, health, love, and euphoria. Trust yourself, you guys. Just build a beautiful story and have a great day. We love you.